Hello ninth class students, good morning. Today we will study about the organelles of the cell, the different structures that are present inside the cell. In the previous video we have studied about the one cell organelle, that is endoplasmic reticulum. Let's see now the next other cell organelles which are present in the cytoplasm of the cell and perform different functions for the cell. So, in order to understand the cell organelles, first of all, let's see an ideal cell diagram. The cell membrane, inside the cell, it is nucleus of the cell. Cell membrane, and students, we have seen that outside the nucleus, one cell organelle present, and name of the cell organelle is endoplasmic reticulum. And students, we have also seen that this organelle, endoplasmic reticulum, is of two types, rough endoplasmic reticulum and smooth endoplasmic reticulum. On the surface of the rough endoplasmic reticulum, some granules-like structures are present, which are ribosomes, and they make the surface of the endoplasmic reticulum rough. That is why that endoplasmic reticulum is known as rough endoplasmic reticulum, and the rest of the endoplasmic reticulum which do not have the ribosomes on its surface is known as smooth endoplasmic reticulum. Now we will see another cell organelle, that is Golgi apparatus. Sometimes the name of the Golgi apparatus is also known as Golgi body. Actually students, the word Golgi or Golgi comes from the name of its discoverer, and the full name of the discoverer who discovered the Golgi body was Camillo Golgi. Camillo Golgi, and in honor of this scientist, the name was given Golgi apparatus or Golgi body. As the name suggests, apparatus, it has empty spaces in it. This Golgi apparatus is membrane bounded structure which is present nearly parallel to the endoplasmic reticulum. This is endoplasmic reticulum, or in short we can write it ER. Now this Golgi apparatus is somehow like this, parallelly present to endoplasmic reticulum, adjacent to endoplasmic reticulum, and some places the membrane of the Golgi body is also connected to the membrane of the endoplasmic reticulum in order to exchange the substances and information between the Golgi apparatus and endoplasmic reticulum. Now students, let's see what are the different functions of the Golgi body. So if you talk about the functions of the Golgi body, then and property of the Golgi apparatus, then the very first property of the Golgi apparatus is that it is membrane bounded vesicle. It is membrane bounded vesicle. That means there is a membrane present outside the Golgi apparatus, which separates the Golgi apparatus from rest of the cytoplasm. First property. Second property, students, that it is present, the place where it present is called cisternae. It is present inside or allocated inside the cisternae. Cistern is actually the place where the Golgi apparatus is present, and next property is that its membrane is connected to the endoplasmic reticulum, so that it can easily exchange the information as well as the material to the Golgi apparatus. Its membrane is connected to endoplasmic reticulum, which help it to transport the materials from the nucleus, because the transportation of the material from the nucleus comes in endoplasmic reticulum, and from the endoplasmic reticulum it comes in Golgi apparatus. Next is, students, the function of the endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi body or Golgi apparatus. So, students, its main function is to storage the substances, modify them in other form, and dispatch it to the different cell organelles inside the cell. It performs the function of storage, modification, and transportation of the substances. Apart from this function, is also help in the formation of the other cell organelle named lysosome. Lysosomes are very important cell organelles. We will see in detail about them also, but they play very important role in order to protect the cell from the pathogens. So, it also helps in formation of lysosomes. Lysosomes are actually another type of the cell organelle. So, students, these are the main functions of the Golgi apparatus. Another important function is that sometimes the Golgi apparatus store the sugar substances or simple sugars and convert them into complex sugar. It converts simple sugar into complex sugar. So, students, these are the three important functions performed by the Golgi apparatus inside the cell. Let's see the next cell organelle, that is lysosome, who is prepared with the help of Golgi apparatus. So next cell organelle is lysosome. Let's see what are lysosomes. What are their functions in the place where they are present in the cell. Lysosomes, students, we can say that very small or minute structural unit of the cell which are scattered here and there in the cytoplasm. They are the smallest membrane bounded structure. The lysosomes are also bounded by some membranes. So the one most important property of the lysosome is that they are membrane bounded structures. First, they are small membrane bounded structure and they are scattered here and there in the cytoplasm of the cell. They are very minute, students, but they are the most important structure as they are filled with the digestive enzymes that can digest the foreign pathogens or particles, or we can say the food particles that we take inside the cell. So they are filled with the digestive enzymes. These digestive enzymes are responsible for the protection of the cell. They protect the cell from the external pathogens. Which digest external pathogens or materials, as well as sometimes the other cell organelles get older and die. So the enzymes present in lysosome also digest the worn out cell organelles and convert them into simpler substances. So they also digest the worn out cell organelles. These are the main functions of the lysosomes. Sometimes, students, when cell get damaged or cell die, then the enzymes inside the lysosome come out, or we can say that lysosomes burst out, and that enzyme digests the cell itself. The enzymes present inside the cytoplasm in a cell, in lysosome in a cell, they digest the cell themselves. That is the reason the lysosomes are also known as the suicidal bag. Suicidal bag, that means they kill the cell in which they live along with their own bursting. They died themselves as well as digest the cell in which they reside. So the third important function that they digest the damaged cell, hence also known as suicidal bag. That is the meaning why lysosomes are known as suicidal bag, that they can digest, they have the ability to digest the own cell in which they reside. So this was the next cell organelle, that is lysosome. Now let's see the next cell organelle, that is mitochondria. Let's see the mitochondria. Students, remember in lower classes you have studied that mitochondria is also known as powerhouse of the cell. Now we see why it is known as powerhouse of the cell and what are its different structures which are present in mitochondria. First of all, that if you see the distribution of the mitochondria, then mitochondria is also distributed here and there is in the form of scattering inside the cytoplasm. But students, the mitochondria is double membrane bounded structure. Rest of the organelles have single membrane around them, but mitochondria have double membrane. One membrane which is outer membrane and it is porous in nature, another membrane which is inner cristae, or we call it cristae, which is inner folded inside the mitochondria. Let's see how. If you see here the broad diagram of the mitochondria, then see this is the outer membrane of the mitochondria and inner membrane is folded like this. This inner membrane is or have the folds like this. These folds are actually very important in order to produce the ATP or the production of energy. So this mitochondria is also have here the inner membrane which is folded and the outer membrane is porous, which can exchange the substances between the cytoplasm. Now let's see what are the different properties and function of mitochondria that helps it to produce the energy. So the very first property that we have seen, mitochondria is double membrane bounded structure. It is double membrane bounded structure, or we can say the cell organelle. It has two membranes which covers the mitochondria. Next, most important property of mitochondria is that it produces energy inside the cell. So it is known as powerhouse of the cell, and the production of energy takes place in the form of ATP. ATP, that means adenosine triphosphate. It produces energy in the form of ATP. ATP, that means students, adenosine triphosphate. And remember, ATP or adenosine triphosphate is the energy currency for our cell, for our body. Our body always take energy in the form of ATP. So the energy is produced in the form of ATP in mitochondria. Next, most important other property of the mitochondria is that it is semi-autonomous cell organelle. What is the meaning of semi-autonomous? Students, we have seen that the DNA is present inside the nucleus of the cell in the form of chromosomes. Here the chromatin material is present in which DNA is present which controls all the activities of the cell. But mitochondria has its own DNA also. A little amount of DNA is also present in mitochondria, and mitochondria has its own ribosomes also, which helps in the production of the protein. So, in absence of the information or controls from the nucleus of the cell, mitochondria can remains in its function, can continuously produce energy, and it can also synthesize its own protein because it has a ribosome in it. So, the next third important property of the mitochondria is that it is semi autonomous organelle, as it has its own DNA and ribosomes. So, students, these are the main characteristic properties of the mitochondria which helps it to remain in function in absence of the commands or the instructions from the nucleus of the cell. The next cell organelle is, students, plastids. Plastids are the cell organelle which are only present in the plant cell and they are not found in animal cell. If you talk in terms of the plants, then they are the very much important cell organelle in the plant cells. Let's see what are their important functions and why they are so important. First property of the plastids are only found in plant cell and not in animal cell. Now, students, on the basis of the color of the plastids, they are broadly divided into two parts. One is the colorful material or colorful pigments, and another one is colorless, or we can say white pigments. So, the plastids which are colored are known as chromoplast, and the plastid which is white in color, or we can say it which is colorless, is known as leucoplast. So, they are of two types. One is chromoplast, which is colored. There may be different color in chromoplast. All the colored plastids are included under the chromoplast, and the second one, which is only white or colorless, we call it leucoplast. We can say it is white or colorless. But students, this chromoplast sometimes contains the yellow or orange color pigment also. This chromoplast, when contains green color pigment, when chromoplast contains the green color pigment, this is known as chloroplast, and the green color pigment that is present inside the chloroplast is known as chlorophyll. Yes, you know that chlorophyll is the pigment which is responsible for the green color of the leaf of the plant. That chlorophyll is present in the chromoplast, and when it is present in special chromoplast green color, it is known as chloroplast. So, third is green chromoplast is known as chloroplast, and a special pigment is present in chloroplast, that is chlorophyll. Chloroplast contains chlorophyll. Students, this chlorophyll pigment is responsible for the process of photosynthesis in the plants, through which the green plants obtain their food from the sunlight, and water they absorb from the soil, and carbon dioxide they absorb through their leaves. Now, this leucoplast, the main function of chromoplast is to perform the photosynthesis when it is chlorophyll or chloroplast. Now, the function of leucoplast is to store the food material like starch, oil, etc. They store them. They also store the protein. So, the function of leucoplast stores starch, protein, and oil, etc. Now, students, the another property of the chloroplast or chromoplast is that inside the structure of the chloroplast, so many membranous layers are present, just like this. This type of the membranes are arranged on one another, and that membrane are known as stroma. So, chlorophyll is present inside the stroma in the chloroplast. Just like the mitochondria, students, the chloroplast is also a double membrane bounded structure, and it has also its own DNA as well as ribosome. So, it is also called as also known as semi-autonomous cell organelle. Mitochondria and chloroplast both are the semi-autonomous organelle. So, the fifth property of the plastids are they have their own DNA and ribosomes. So, students, this is all about the plastids which are present in the plant cell.